the idea was magnetic for good people, right? I mean, we were there at the start, but we've just seen through the years the most amazing people come along that have taken that idea and made it into a reality in ways that we simply couldn't have imagined at the time. And I think that was one of the great lessons for me, and I think for Gary, of business, that you have a defined opportunity environment that you think in terms of, but that doesn't take into account all the amazing people and ideas and developments that are going to happen along the way. So you've got to have a group of people who are the bearers of that truth and who are fascinated by, excited and moved by that on every day. And somehow they draw in so much possibility that makes your idea bigger and bigger and bigger. And then of course 10 years later you get to claim that you came up with the idea, but the idea has so many more dimensions than you could possibly have thought of yourself.
We operate in challenging markets, and so there's a huge responsibility that comes with the profit with purpose investing, and also to some extent being responsible for the broader class succeeding.
In the past decade, as emerging markets have come through, you have a whole new educated class, many of whom are hyper-entrepreneurial and operating in high-growth environments. And they've come up with some amazing businesses. And because of digital technology helping these societies to leapfrog, they've often been able to create businesses that don't have the legacy systems and the old ways of doing things deeply embedded in them. There's going to be this incredible reverse innovation where insights and businesses are generated that own the future, and actually a whole lot of the more conventional businesses are going to start traveling in their direction as a vast herd. We've seen a few start to do that. We've seen healthcare and insurance groups teaming up to do these sorts of things, but in many ways the folks in Kenya and sometimes in Jakarta and Mumbai are miles ahead of some of the folks who have more legacy to deal with.
Yeah, I think we've also seen numerous examples of individuals who've perhaps gone and been schooled in the US or elsewhere, had tremendous opportunities available to them, and have actually actively chosen to come back to the countries that they grew up in, that they were born in, and take those skills, take that education and invest it back into their home countries. And it's amazing to see the kind of energy that brings into those markets around, innovation and really being able to uplift people in those countries.
I think the most powerful contribution we can make is by demonstrating a better way of doing business, better in terms of more profit and better in terms of greater, more positive impact. And if you look at some of the companies we've invested in, they really are a much better way to see how to go forward than some grand principles, because like amazing innovators, whether it's Apple or Amazon, you can see something that's potentially replicable that you can do, and millions of people can see it around the world. When we look at our 10-year horizon, we are determined to go from reaching 188 million people to, through our companies, reaching 1 billion people with essential services. And at the root of that will be the provision of services around health and wealth, because if people aren't healthy and they can't make payments or save or access credit to do new things, they're not going to be able to accomplish any of the other important goods in life and work. So that is our North Star. And as we've looked at what it's going to take to get there, it's going to take a lot of invention, and we don't have all the answers yet. But what we do know is we have something replicable, which is that you find fantastic people who are specialists in a particular industry, who are specialists in a particular country and region, and who are utterly focused on the emerging consumer. You put them on your team as investment professionals, you get them to find quality businesses with trusted leaders who can grow very rapidly their businesses. And those businesses then reach millions and millions of people and learn a huge amount on the way. I think we can have a much higher level of confidence now that we'll get to 1 billion than we did 10 years ago that we'd get to 100 million people. There's a famous book by an oil man called T. Boone Pickens who says the first billion's the hardest. And in a sense, we can relate to that. I think we think in terms of 1 billion people, but I think the first 100 million was the hardest, and now there is the real prospect, and I think if we do it right, the inevitable outcome of reaching 1 billion people.